This is Entrepreneurs Get Visible, the podcast for people who want more impact, influence, and income. I'm Anna Parker-Naples, and I'll be sharing with you proven methods from leading entrepreneurs that help you get visible as an authority in your field. Because anything's possible when you get visible. Hello and welcome to today's episode of Entrepreneurs Get Visible. Today we're talking about the real ways that you can go about 10 times in your business. And I'm joined today by Dawn McGruer, who has an incredible background as a digital marketing speaker, expert and trainer and author. I'm going to slip that one in there as well. And we're going to talk about what this really looks like in today's current digital landscape. Is it really possible to do that 10 timesing that we hear people like Grant Cardone talk about? How do you actually make this work for your business? So welcome to the show, Dawn. It's great to have you here.
Oh, thank you. And what a nice intro.
Well, I always say, as I did to you just a few minutes ago, I don't like on my podcast having really long, boring introductions where I read out every award people have done in their business, because I actually think it's more interesting to hear it in a conversational way. So, Dawn, what haven't I said that's maybe a little bit interesting that you wish I'd mentioned?
Well, I think a lot of people kind of will look at me in the online space and think, right, okay, she's done quite a lot. I have, but you've got to consider I started my business at 21. So 42 now. So I've literally worked in the world of online marketing since the internet began. And I've worked very much kind of in the corporate space, the tech sectors. My agency I started at 21 is still kicking on, going very strong and still growing. And, you know, that's something that I'm really proud of. And in addition, I started my academy back in 2005 because I was really passionate about having accredited qualifications and courses in the world of digital marketing, because when online marketing came out, social media, I think everyone was teaching it to a degree. And I was hearing a lot of bad advice out there. And I wanted to make sure that people knew where to go to get, you know, guaranteed strategies. And if they wanted to, you know, go and get a full-on qualification in the world of digital marketing.
And so this is something that you've really thrown yourself into. You do large scale training. You're also working with some of the most phenomenal companies in the world. And yet I know that there's something more coming for you. And that's something we're going to be delving into today. But the topic we really want to cover is what it takes to really 10 times your business. Is that really something that is achievable in a short space of time? And what kind of length of time are we talking? What does it take from you as an individual? And what does it take in terms of timeframes to achieve that?
Sure. No, and it's a question that I think it almost sounds too good to be true. And this is kind of the irony around it, because you hear this a lot in the online space, you know, 10 times in your wealth and success. And this is kind of why I chose this topic, because I do feel it's truly achievable. But it's about looking at the things that will really move the needle in your business. And it's not about doing 10 times more than you're doing. We are so busy as it is. It's actually the opposite. It's about decluttering and designing your perfect day and your perfect model so that both are aligned. I mean, I don't believe that you have such a thing as work-life balance, but you can have a balanced life. And it's about looking at how your day pans out and looking at what is business development, what is actually driving revenue in that day, and what is actually all around self-care. So it focuses on the 3 pillars of success that I believe any entrepreneur needs to be successful in business, which is marketing, motivation, and mindset. Because when the 3 come together, it really is very powerful. And in terms of timescales, you can change things quickly. And this is what I love. You can make changes in a day that will impact the next. And it's little shifts. For me, I'm all about taking micro steps to get big momentum, because when you start looking at a big task, like when I started launching my podcast, for instance, it was overwhelming. And it sat for me on the procrastination list for about 3 years because it just seemed like a very daunting task. So for me, it was things like break it down, you know, look at what am I going to call it? Where's it going to be hosted? Who's producing it? And just breaking down those micro tasks so that I felt like I was moving closer to my goal every day. And this is the essence of the 10 times in wealth and success, and where obviously my new focus is coming into play.
Do you know the book? I'm sure you do. Oh gosh, it's on The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I talk about it on this show all of the time. I've got some new goals. So I literally sat down last week and broke this down. Okay, so I can't go from 0 to hero straight away. But what I can do is take tiny, tiny, tiny actions that look like I'm doing nothing. And yet in 3 years' time, I will have done that or surpassed it. It's so important. And I think when you talk about having that motivation and that mindset, you have to believe what you're aiming for is possible for you. And that's really important. You have to believe it's possible for you, and you have to have the get up and go to keep going. And I think that's often where people hold themselves back. They don't set the wheel in motion because they're procrastinating for too long. They get caught in that overwhelm. So how do we get through that to make sure we are taking some consistent action and getting that momentum?
I think it starts exactly where you said about the goal setting, because I talk about having aspirational goals that feel truly achievable. And the reason that you're going to have an aspirational goal is because you're going to push the boundaries a little bit, because I think it's quite easy in business to get very transfixed on the business objectives, like, lead generation, revenue. I want to be 6-figure, 7-figure, whatever it's going to be. And really, you've got to bring it back down to basics and think about the bigger why. Why did you start your business? And is your business model aligned to your dreams and goals that you wanted? And it's making the shifts in both of those. And I feel that brings them an emotional connection, because if you start designing your perfect day, you start to feel more in sync, your mojo's back, your motivation, you feel more in control. And I think it brings a bigger clarity, so that when you start seeing that shift, it spurs you on to the next step in that goal. So I think it's having goals that you're really passionate about, that really means something. And that's not necessarily money. I don't believe that money is often the driver. I think it's a bigger why. It's what does the money and the revenue and the leads and all that allow you to do? For me, I don't want to work on a Friday afternoon. I don't want to touch my phone after 5 p.m. I don't want to work on weekends. And I don't do all of those things. So it's how do I make that possible? And I think the thing is once you start to get your own motivation and mindset to a point, you feel differently. And I think your energy is different. And what I've seen a lot in the online space is that people are a bit fatigued with business. They're fatigued with showing up online. I have clients coming to me and saying they're going live 5 times a day. I mean, just crazy, because they feel that pressure. And the thing is you've got to almost cancel out the white noise, put your blinkers on and think about your why, your day, and every minute, every hour, your time is precious. And I think for me, it was a big thing to be able to bring a lot of these changes, I guess, that I've done in the past 20 years to get to where I am, to my clients. And this is kind of like where I'm heading now.
Where you're going. I love that, the opening up and expansion that can happen when you allow yourself to. And there's an interesting thing you said there. So obviously this show is about getting visible, which is so that you can be known and recognized, and empowering others because they have seen you to do business with you, to give you referrals, and to do the work that you're here to do. But there is a lot of fatigue. There's also a lot of fear. So maybe for people who've got beyond the fear of showing up, there's then the fear of what if I stop? And what would you say to someone who's in that situation where they are feeling like they're constantly having...
I think when you start something, you have to think that you started it, so you can change it, you can stop it. So when I have clients who've said to me, Dawn, I've got a club or a membership, or I'm going live every week, and I really just don't have the passion in it anymore. You can regear that and come out with something new. And the thing is you've got to believe that shift, if it doesn't feel authentic and it doesn't feel true now, because not always what you start will always stay with you forever. This is the great thing about evolving and growing businesses, that change is good. So I think the energy shift is that if you are highly visible, it doesn't mean that you have to be giving yourself always in a live capacity. This is a great thing about podcasts. You can be in someone's pocket and someone could be listening to you while you're off, spending time with your friends and family, and you're still making a massive impact. Guesting on podcasts and things like that, if you don't want to start your own, again, you imagine the reach of the audience. And I think for me, it's about scaling things back and thinking about, what do I love doing? What is moving the needle for my business? What is going to bring me one step closer to that all-important goal without draining and sapping your energy? So if you don't want to show up online every day, don't do it. At the end of the day, I spend 10 minutes a day on social media, and I'm teaching social media day in, day out. So I'm never saying to anyone, you have to be there 1 hour a day.
I think you have to really notice that energy and when it's there and when it isn't for you, and protect yourself, because as an entrepreneur, if you burn out, then there's nothing left to give. It's a really dangerous situation to get in. And I really believe that if something feels really heavy, there's a message for you in it. In fact, I was at this weekend, a really fabulous conference. It was the second year of, it's called EMC, which is the Entrepreneurs Marketing Conference. They want to make it the biggest marketing conference for entrepreneurs in the UK. It was really fab. And there was someone there who was saying, your business is always talking to you. It's always talking to you. There's a message there. And very often when we're having problems in our business, it's because we're banging our heads against a brick wall when there's an obvious solution we've just not been open to. And for me, in my own life and how I run my business, if I notice, like I have done recently, I've been really open with this. I've had horrendous personal challenges since May. Yeah. I had to make decisions about, well, how often am I going to show up? Am I going to beat myself up if I don't show up as much as I used to? And we actually cut down the episodes of the podcast for a period, because at the end of the day, if I'm not bringing the value, if I'm not bringing myself, what am I doing it for? I don't just want to show up just for the sake of it. And I know that you really are now taking this incredible background you have, being, really leading in your field for helping people get real qualifications in how to do digital marketing, and then bringing your wealth of knowledge to a new audience. So Dawn, I'm really curious about what is it that's coming for you? Why at this point have you decided to make a bit of a shift? Because I'm always curious about that. What is it that pushes someone else to grow and expand in a new or a slightly different direction?
Yeah, I've always been driven very organically in my businesses by my clients and their behavior. And first of all, when I had my agency, it was all about helping businesses to actually get a presence online. You imagine back in 2000, it was right at the start of like Google. So as I kind of moved through there, I started the virtual business partner program where businesses that didn't have a consultant or an agency, I was that person. And I worked on the strategy. And then I started working with larger and larger brands, still started, kept working with the SMEs, etc. But then as we grew, there was a niche there for people wanted training. And my clients came to me and said, Dawn, we just need something accredited. We need to know that what is right. And we're not going to be jeopardized. We had clients coming to us who'd said they'd taken advice of SEO agencies who were not doing best practice, and they disappeared off of Google. That's pretty detrimental. So Academy was born in 2005 and became accredited. And it was tough, to become an accredited college or university. It's very difficult because you're up against Cambridge and Oxford, and there's a lot of pressure in that market to keep up. But where our edge is that we were practitioners, not just tutors. So teaching a qualification where people are actually dealing with people who are living and breathing and practicing what they teach was quite different. So it gave us the edge. And then moving forward, obviously in the past 20 years, working with clients and, growing my own businesses to having 4 businesses now, I felt that it was so important that I actually brought some of that knowledge, because when I was having conversation with clients, they were saying, can't believe you started your business at 21 and setting up your business from scratch and multiple businesses. Those were the bits that people wanted from me, not just mastering digital marketing and social media. They wanted the business strategy from start to finish for any age or stage of business. And this is where the Power Circle program came, because during lockdown, I changed my world and I started really kind of redesigning what I wanted, pushing things further forward in terms of my aspirational goals. And this is where it came from. So it really is taking all of that wealth of knowledge from, successes and some pretty epic failures along the way, and front loading that with 13 other partners who have expertise, including yourself, in that field to bring something really quite special. Because although it's an online program, what have we all been craving for? One-to-one interaction and one-to-one support. And this is something that the Power Circle felt absolutely needed to have, but be accessible to all levels and stages of businesses. And I think the great thing is with the Power Circle is you're designing your wealth and success plan around your very own aspirational goals. You're not just learning generic, it's tailored to where you want to take your business and how to get it to that next level. Because the last quarter of the year, we're all thinking about 2022 already, aren't we? And do we really want to be going into the beginning of next year without putting some of the groundwork in and knowing that in January, one of the most depressing months of the year, that you've already got a head start? And I think this is where the energy has come, and people have really kind of bought into finding out a little bit more about the Power Circle.
So I know you've got a masterclass that is actually happening on Thursday this week. So if you're watching live, then the link is there for you. If you're listening on the podcast, we're going to give you access to a free guide that Dawn has, because you will have missed that particular masterclass. Although I've seen this program, the Power Circle, I'm actually involved in it as a partner myself. And what I think, there's a couple of things that you've mentioned there. So one is about the fact that because you've had this immense background of teaching people digital marketing at, right up to degree levels, as I understand, gaining real solid qualifications that are recognized. We then have in the online space, it's like the Wild West. It's like the Wild West sometimes, and it's very personality driven. And often we don't know someone else's experience, or I don't mean qualification, I mean life qualification, professional qualification. We don't really know the truth of how someone else is managing their business when they're then wanting to teach us how to do business. And I think that many of us have felt burnt by programs we've bought or people that we followed. And not everyone comes from a heart-centered place, as it were. Not everyone actually comes in with the best of intentions to genuinely help people. A lot of people are in it for the money, and that's okay. It's business. But how do you make sure as a client, as a consumer, that you don't get burnt by that? And, I've seen what Dawn's put together, and she's bringing together some of the best in the business, but it's headed up with her phenomenal expertise. The other thing that you were talking about was the fact that you've got to go at your own pace. You've got to build your vision of what success and wealth is like. And I know many people right now are feeling the impact of 18 months of lockdown. And the impact of our predominant social interaction having been online, and a lot of, well, I'm not doing as well as her, or I'm not doing as well as him. I don't have that cash flow, therefore am I failing? And there's a lot of noise out there that actually can take you off your own path and
harmful.
And be really harmful. Tell me your thoughts around that.
It's my biggest topic of conversation at the moment. It's about the fact that we've all been there. Me starting my business at 21, there was always someone that I was seeing who I was thinking was doing bigger and better things than I was. And then you learn that you have to put your blinkers on and almost cancel it out, because you're seeing a percentage of social media. You don't really know the truth of what's going on there. For me, it's about consistency and frequency and showing up in an authentic way, and feeling, that if something is fatiguing you, just take it out of your life. No one's going to die if you don't show up on social media. And I think, as you say, through lockdown, we've been pushed into the online space, whether we like it or not. I actually think there's less people visible now. I actually think as we've come out of lockdown, a lot of people have kind of dissipated. But you've got to remember, success is relative to you. I might say, I'm an author, a global ranking podcaster, all those things, an award-winning speaker. But all that jazz is fairly irrelevant unless you've got a sustainable, profitable business. And that business doesn't need to be any figure. It just needs to be what you want to be doing. So when people talk about 6, 7, 8-figure businesses, I'm so done with that. I am so done.
What's the profit and how much are you actually taking home?
I know a business that is bringing in almost 90% profit, who is growing and scaling in just a really nice way, 3 days a week. This lady's loving her job, and she is designing each day as her business evolves to the model and linking the two together. Now that, to me, is the heart of business. Living and breathing something that you're passionate about and it's profitable. If you want to go write a book or do a podcast, those are all lovely things to do, but they're not at the heart of survival. The first thing we have to do is get the foundations in place and figure out exactly what you want to be achieving. And once the business is obviously growing in the manner that feels right, then you can start adding other things into the mix. It doesn't have to all be done on day one.
No,
People have got to remember.
It can't be all done on day one. It can't be. There's too much to do, and you have to prioritize. And whatever you prioritize has to fit with actually how you're feeling.
Yeah.
How you're feeling.
People don't want to be working 16 hours a day. And who said you had to? I mean, I think there's a pressure where people feel like they have to be in the 5 a.m. club. There's a pressure where people think they have to show up at work in the morning. If you want to work in the afternoon, in the night, why not? I think now is really the time to redesign the day, right? And think about how your business model is going to work for that. Because if you're happy each and every day doing things, feeling in your genius zone, and you're invigorated, that your clients will feel that. I see a lot of clients at the moment where we're working with them to do the shift where all their time is centered on the acquisition of business and not enough is actually focused on the delivery, so the clients are missing out.
And the relationship building as well.
Yeah, so you have to be thinking that if you are showing up online, there needs to be a balance somewhere in terms of actually bringing business in, but also working with clients, because that's the bit that entrepreneurs, business owners are truly passionate about. And that's the bit that we need to be spending more time creating an experience and really putting our heart and soul into the delivery and working with clients and just getting into that flow, because those clients can be there forever. They'll come back, they'll recommend, and that is a bit of the business that I see that people are not focusing enough on.
Absolutely. And I think for all the noise out there in the online space, it's actually a very small world. And whilst people might not publicly say working with this person was a disaster, but people won't go say that. But you bet they're talking about it in private. They're talking about it when they meet up with other entrepreneurs who are looking for coaches or resources or experts. And there are people categorically, whilst I would never slate them, I would never recommend them. And if someone actually asked me why, I would disclose that, not breaking any contracts or anything like that. And so if you aren't delivering.
For sure. And this is it. You have to put the effort in. This is why it's taken me a long time to put the program together, because I wanted the people, the professionals, the experts in my panel, 13 other people that I truly believe in and I know will inspire and invigorate clients, because it's the essence, it's the heart of the program. Once people join, that's one decision. People have made a decision to go to next level, right? But it's all in the what happens next. People want to know complete transparency of when am I going on a session? How is it going to manage? What am I going to learn? What am I going to get from the back of this? How am I going to be supported? What accountability, coaching, one-to-one am I going to get? And I think this is the real difference. And I've taken a lot of this actually on the back of doing lots of programs, talking to hundreds of clients and entrepreneurs in this market to see what the lack is, what is the problem that is out there in terms of the biggest challenges in business, challenges of getting the business to the next level, and how do people want to be supported? Because what worked 18 months ago doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work now. And I think this is the importance, the power circle. I know confidently has got the elements that I would have wanted back, when I was growing my business, but also, clients have been craving, because it is important. People want to be able to talk to someone. They don't just want to be a process or a number in someone's online
program. As I'm sure you have, Dawn, I've seen and been involved in programs where there's been a glorious sale. The sales process, the launch was slick. And then the person delivering it has basically disappeared. And yes, I'm all for automation. I'm all for using your assets. But for me, there's something really shady and uncomfortable about that. And it doesn't matter how big a launch someone's had, if they then actually there's lots of bad feeling amongst and they won't know this because they're not attached to the clients. If there's been that bad feeling, then you haven't done a great job. That's not, for me, that's not been a successful launch, because
and people thinking that they're too above it to be in it. And I think the heart of it is, if you are selling your mission, vision and passion, then you are the center of that. And so are the other people who are in the program. And this is where I feel that we've seen in the online space a lot of people promising the earth and really under delivering. And I think that is very, really sad. But again, I talk about being, organically driven. My clients came to me back in, early 2000 and said, Dawn, we need training that's accredited. This is exactly what's happened. People who were doing my courses were signing up coaches, programs. They were getting no support. They had no contact. They didn't even get emails on the back of it. And I just think it's a really shameful thing to do. This could be someone's massive investment to a life-changing thing. And if you're promising something, you've got to blooming well deliver it. And that's what I feel. So I know that not everyone has that feeling out there, but I know that you share mine, and so do the other partners on the program. And this is why it's important to me.
So your masterclass that you're hosting this week, tell us a little bit about what people are going to learn and experience from showing up for you.
So yes, I was getting quite excited the day, going through my slides, doing my little testing, but we're going to be covering how to get seen and noticed quicker online. And we're going to be looking at some of the social media and digital marketing strategies that I know are tried and tested. I'm going to be giving you 18 little mini tips, things that you can take away, tangible strategies that are quick, easy to implement. The heart and essence of the masterclass is 6 powerful ways to 10 times your wealth and success. And we will be talking about marketing, we'll be talking about motivation, and we'll be talking about mindset and how to really kind of start changing your working day and how to move that to be more aligned to your business model. This is going to be the heart of the masterclass. So that As we're going through it, we're going to start thinking about how you feel about your business, what's holding you back, what your challenges are. And hopefully, obviously, you can then go and take some of these strategies and start implementing. And yes, of course, full transparency, I will be launching my Power Circle program for anyone who obviously wants to take the business to the next level after the masterclass.
Dawn, every time you talk about your perfect day, I'm thinking my perfect day would not involve the school run and having squabbling teenagers first thing in the morning. My perfect day is in about 7 years' time, but the rest of the day is mine too. And I actually I finish work at 2:45 normally every day. I do check online in the evenings, but not really. I'm not present in the business, and I've got times blocked out where I'm planning to do lives if I feel like it. And if I don't, that's okay. I've got strict times when I have client calls, when I have sales calls, because mapping that out for me and leaving myself 1 or 2 almost entirely free days a week, one for a day off on Friday, don't work Fridays, but also if I'm creating something new or a course or an idea, or I want to deliver content in some way that's going to be a long-term asset, I need the space to not be interrupted every a few minutes. So I actually think about mine, not just the day, but the week. Where in the week am I going to have that spaciousness? And it makes such a difference. So that's for people who then are able to come to your masterclass. Tell us a little bit about the free guide that you're giving access to.
The guide is like a little mini book, really. It's got practical exercises in that start looking at how you can really boost your growth, profit, and success. And again, we take the 3 core principles: marketing, motivation, and mindset. What I've done is I've started to make you start thinking about how you show up online, what things you like doing in a day. And each of the activities is actually linked to a podcast episode. So you can kind of listen to me as you're going through the exercises, delve a little bit deeper into each one. And what we're trying to do here is really kind of carve out what's working and what's not. And one of the principles I talk about is how I have a list of 2 things: I love it or leave it. And if I love it, these are the things I love doing. They can go on the calendar. Leave it, I have to delegate and declutter and move them on to someone else. And then I have a sitting on the fence line, which could be things like starting a podcast. And that might mean that I want to do it, but it just seems a bit overwhelming. So what I do is I break those down into micro tasks and start thinking, okay, now it feels a bit more manageable, feel a bit more in control. I'll move it to the love it list. So the love it or leave it is about kind of getting a sense of how things are working for you right now. And there's lots of other free resources within the guide that you can kind of listen to. You can kind of start plotting out a couple of things in terms of your marketing, as well as focusing on mindset and motivation as well.
Fabulous. So we're going to make sure, if you're listening on the podcast, that is in the show notes. So thank you so much for coming on the show today, Dawn, and best of luck with your masterclass. So just to wrap up, if someone right now is thinking that 10 times in my wealth in a short, I can't see it. It's so far away from where I am right now. What is the thing they most need to address? What do they do first?
I think the thing is it's a bit like when a client comes to me, first of all, I don't focus on anything that they are telling me that they want to do. I start focusing on everything that they're doing right now and looking at what's working and what's not. I think the biggest thing you can do is that if you really want to move the needle, is start thinking about the things you are doing that you need to change because they're not bringing the results in. Now, what I can say is that the masterclass does is it starts to address all the things that are maybe not working in your business and how to re-gear them. Subtle shifts and tweaks that you can make that can start then seeing that ripple of result coming out. So it sounds too good to be true, but really honestly, it's something that I apply for me and my clients have been doing for many years. I just never really popped the title to it until now and started quantifying really the results, and how quickly we could change things. So if you want to start thinking about your business design and how your business is going to look for the coming years, you've got to start doing something today. And the masterclass is the perfect way to do that with a guide.
Great. Well, thank you so much then, Dawn. Thank you for coming on today. And thank you guys for listening. Go check out the links below the show notes or in the comments if you are watching on replay. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Entrepreneurs Get Visible. To get your free checklist on how to raise your profile and to find out about our community, go to Parker-Naples.co.uk/get visible.